Hello everyone, this is the explanation part of the video. So the first thing I want to go over is this is actually not our Mobfarm design, but this is the virtual machine Side-accel design. I just want to point out there's an air gap right here and the 3 wide water wall. Now the water wall, that's there to block light from the portal, and so is the air gap. So mobs spawn on this spawn pad, the tripwire detects them spawning, and then the default state is this piston is retracted. So that redirects the dust to be pointed in this direction, and this is signal string 15. Whenever a mob spawns, such as a creeper, this redstone block gets pushed out and it redirects the dust to power the piston. This decrements 1 redstone power level and that updates the piston. If you don't have a decrement a level, you need some other way to update the piston. So this is a way to get the spawn pad to instantly extend within the same tick as the mob that spawned. So it just gets accelerated into the portal. So this is a pretty nice design and a lot of inspiration was taken from it. However, it's a little bit different than the design that we're using. So the design that we're using is right here. As you can see, there's no air gap. So one issue with that is if you just have a flat wall of portals, this is just placeholder for the portals for now. It causes the spawning spaces to be light level 1, which is really bad for spawning. So if we got around this by slicing the portal at foot level, so it was light level 0, and removing this block here, it improved the density of the module and also reduced the lifetime by 2 game ticks, which is pretty nice. The other thing you may have noticed is the layers are actually offset. This is for, again, improved density, because the virtual machine design has the slime like this, while this design has it a lot denser, like this. Like this, which that improves the density quite a bit, and also the entire farm is just faster in general. Now, the pack spawning is better because the solid blocks that are at the farm are farther away on foot level, which leads to more successful spawn attempts. Now, there's an issue with this, and it has to deal with portal caching. So in the farm below, the virtual machine farm, this has a 16 wide module, so it's chunk aligned. However, this is not 16 wide. It's a little bit shorter. It's 15 by 13, I'm pretty sure. Even though it's alternating, so it's a little bit weird. And so this is how portal caching works. So each quadrant of a chunk is a portal caching region in the overworld. It's very different for the Nether, but only the overworld is relevant for this. So these corners, the border of the quadrant, that is on the edge of a caching region, and it has a little bit different behavior than inside the caching region. So let's just say this is a portal. As long as it's in this caching region, the portal block, it will get cached if an entity goes through it. That includes items or players or any entity. So this cache, when the entity goes through, it exists for 15 seconds, and after 15 seconds, the cache expires. So we need to feed the portals with the caching system. So down below, you can see there's some rails going around with droppers. That dispenses the items into the portals in that design. Our design is a little bit different. So another issue with this is, in this farm, the portals are chunk aligned. So they will always be in the same spot in the chunk every time. So let's say the portals of their farm are right here. If you cache this region, it's completely fine. Same thing with this border, it gets cached with the region, it's fine. Now, one thing with the portals is when you have them on a caching border, such as this, basically the entities can get cached from both sides. So if a mob gets sent in this direction through the portal, it will get cached on this side, or this side. And if an entity gets sent through this side, it will cache on this side. Now, that's a slight problem because you need to either cache both sides or just not have the portal there. Luckily, if you align this concept well enough, you will have no portals on this configuration. So it's not an issue. However, it does add some constraints to the chunk alignment, but we managed to get around it. Alright, so this is our farm. As you can see, there's just chest minecarts going around in a loop instead of a water stream system like the other farm. And every 15 seconds, a cart comes out of this portal. We'll just wait for one real quick. Alright, here's one. And they go on these curved rails, which are 16 blocks per second. So they're roughly 2 times faster than normal rails, which is better. And then they go on this track. This dust right here, there's 2 because it just redirects the dust from powering the hopper. You can use anything that redirects dust, but I just used another dust because you have to carry less blocks when building it, and it never gets powered anyway because it's signal strength 1. And yeah, the carts take around 7 minutes to go around the full track, and there's 533 caching regions within the farm. So every region has to be reliably cached for the farm to work. And as you can see, there's just a hole here where we slice the portals, and then the arrows get dispensed from these droppers into the water below, into the portal below. Now, it's different every other layer. For this layer, we have the droppers on the side of the portal, and we need the droppers on the side because if you did it similar to how we have it on this layer, due to how the water is, there's a chance that zombies can actually pick up the caching item, and they have custom MBTs so they don't despawn in the Nether, which will break the farm, and I'll get to that part later. So yeah, this is just cut in a circle. The slabs block light on the edges, so everything is light level 0. And oh, there we go, light level 0. And there's around 25.6k spawning spaces within the farm, so it's quite a few for one subchunk. Also, the caching only runs at about 2 or 3 MSPT, so it's not a major source of lag. It's pretty nice overall. The carts then get sent back through this portal, where they're filled in the Nether, and we'll get to that next. Next, I'm going to show off the Nether side of the farm, which is the more complicated part. So right here we have a carpet bot placing TNT every 12 game ticks for the lazy looting setup, and we have the on and off switch and the different sorter mode. So one neat thing about this is using no blocks in 1.12, which you can detect a player pressing on a no block with a cut, but not observers and other detection methods don't work. So, I don't know, I thought that was neat and we decided to use that. And you can see some of the redstone right here. Alright, so I'm just going to show, there's a TNT conveyor right here. All of this decoration is by Angun, which is really beautiful. However, part of it's just missing, so we could show off the redstone. We'll have a better look at the deco later on. So here in the farm, this is where the arrow is. So every 12 game ticks, the arrow gets pushed up with this piston. The TNT is 0 ticked into the arrow, which lights on fire. since I shot the arrow, I technically ignited the TNT, and that forces the game to think that I killed the mobs. So I can hold a looting sword and it will apply looting to the drops in the farm. And that's the reason why this farm could hit 3.7 million items an hour. So we get about 1.74 million drops from the farm. Now, that may not sound correct, because 1.74 times 2.5 is greater than 3.7. However, the problem with that is you can't lazy loot zombies. Well, you can, but there's some complications. Zombies, when they get player damage, I'll show a code segment on screen right now from MCP. When they get player damaged, they try and summon zombie reinforcements, and there's some code that runs checks around the area the zombie got damaged. So it generates some randoms and then checks certain spots around the zombie to summon the reinforcements. Now this is not only laggy, but it loads chunks, which breaks lazy looting. The whole point of the lazy looting is we have the mobs in lazy chunks so that they don't produce as much lag because they're not ticked. Now, you can get around this by moving the player backward to player unload the chunks that it loads. However, there's a bit of loss in that, and it's also quite laggy because the AI still runs. Our solution was we sort out the mobs. So as you can see, there's a boat right here on top of a witch, which creates the witch is the exact same height as the zombies. So it creates a gap that is slightly shorter than a block that skeletons cannot fit through, but zombies can. And right here we have a trapdoor that sorts out creepers. So the creepers and skeletons they both get merged onto this block and then shot forward with the slime, where they're blown up and looted. The zombies get pushed over, zombies and baby zombies and witches get pushed over a full block and then pushed back half a block with this cobble wall. Since their hitbox is not fully on this block, we can push them out using this piston right here, one tick before the TNT detonates. This prevents them from getting damaged. So the main bottleneck with this system is damaging zombies that are already in the conveyor. So it's capped at 24 game ticks. So we have 2 of them running at 24 game ticks. So there's a 12 game tick clock right here, and every other gets activated. So this is just to reduce the amount of entities at a time. Yeah. So I think it's pretty neat. I wired this and it can go as low as 18 game ticks for the clock. However, yeah, that has the issue of damaging the entities. Alright, another thing I want to show off is the cart system. So the carts that get sent back from the Overworld go right here, and they go in these chest minecart fillers into this storage. And it may look a bit uneven, but that's because this detection mechanism to detect when the cart towers are filled needs one side to have a few more carts. So we have a hopper clock with 18 items in it. So this activates a little bit under every 15 seconds to send the carts back into the portals. These carts are also in a special location where they don't get cached from the portals within the farm, but the carts can still go in and out of them. The next thing I want to show is right here, these portals. So this piston right here is there for a reason. You need a block within the portal to influence where the mobs come out of the portal. So having a block in here forces them to come out at 3 different heights, and then we push them all into one. Babies and small slimes get pushed to the very bottom. That's why we need this double piston extender. And this piston extends while this is retracting upward, because some baby zombies can actually get pulled upward without this. So that was another problem that we had to work around. And flint and steel is also used up by this farm. if because it attempts to light the portal every time it activates, but it can't because there's a block inside the portal. So I also got around this by just powering the dispenser while it's running. So that prevents some issues. Next, I just want to say there's Endermen in these boats. We don't need them in the boats. It's just more convenient while testing. And we need Endermen so that this red eyeline hitbox doesn't get put inside of a block and suffocates the Enderman. And this is just a visual bug with the witch getting pushed. But yeah. Next, the items go along over here, and they get aligned and then put into sorters. These sorters are given new shulker boxes by these chest minecarts. That is just to reduce the amount of tile entities. And then this is a little bit incomplete. It was just modified for testing. We fill up chest minecarts with a chest minecart with the filled shulkers and then send them past the AFK spot, where we can unload them with the shulker sorter, and we have a bulk silos over there. So this farm produces 3 major drops, about 1.2 million arrows an hour, 1.25 million gunpowder an hour, and 1.2 million bones an hour. Now, we don't actually use arrows that much on this server, so what we did is we have enough sorters to recover the amount of items needed for the caching system, and then the filled shulkers are sent up this elevator into this storage where we just fill the minecarts. So the empty shulkers are sent back down here, and when they're used up, this hopper gets unlocked. There's a few just floating here because for testing, we're just constantly feeding it with shulkers. So it's unneeded, but yeah. The farm produces about 1.4k shulker boxes an hour that are filled with items, and 70k arrows, 70k bows, and I think 18 diamond armor an hour, almost. That's another thing I want to talk about, this TNT right here. The location it explodes can be moved slightly closer, just it's quite annoying to put the boat back. So we went with this safer location. But this is in a really well-placed spot in order to damage skeletons as much as possible. So since they can have armor. And this whole system is timed as well as we could make it in order to reduce the amount of lag. As you can see, there's a bit of messy redstone around the whole thing. That's only to turn it on and off. So I just want to mention real quick, there's a chunk loading grid right here, because this card portal is actually outside of render distance, so we added a chunk loading grid in order to make this chunk entity processing. As you can see, there's a lazy detector here that locks the clock if it's not entity processing. So this is a pretty neat thing. The way that entity processing chunks work is if there's a 5x5 around a chunk, it is considered entity processing. And this can be in any shape. So you can have a cross that's entity processing in the middle, or really anything. Now, this is actually important because these sorters are at the very edge of being entity processing. These two chunks right here, okay, this chunk and this chunk, they need to be kept lazy for the farm to work. Now, there's two chunks over here that if these two get loaded by the reinforcement AI from zombies, it will break the whole system. So that's just how the chunk loading aspect of it works. So here are the mobs getting sorted out. As you can see, the witches and zombies are separated from the skeletons, and the creepers are separated a bit earlier on right here. So I'm just going to make the tick rate lower so it's easier to see. Another thing you may notice is these pistons are kind of a mess. That is just client ghost blocks. It's a bit difficult to look at with a normal client, but right-clicking them solves the issue. So you can see that the zombies and skeletons get pushed out before, and the skeletons and creepers get blown up with the looting. The items are then sent down here and pushed into these shulker loaders. Alright, so now I just want to show off some of the other designs I've created. This is the absolute first design I've made for a lazy mob sorter, and it runs at a 100 game to clock, which is quite a bit more than the 24 game to clock now. So the witch stands right here with the bow on top of them, which only allows the zombies and witches to get pushed over. So skeletons get stuck on this block right here, so they can get pushed back down, and creepers, zombies, and witches continue on. The zombies get stuck right here, because they can't fit under the trapdoor, and then we push them down. This is a little bit broken because it's quite old, but they get pushed down and then pushed around here to get despawned. Creepers continue around this pathway and they get pushed down right here, and baby zombies get despawned here. So I'll turn it on real quick. The main issue with this was mobs kept getting stuck in a lot of places. It was really buggy and very slow. So I just moved on to a new design, but I'll just show it running real quick. Now, it doesn't exactly work very well in entity processing chunks, but you can see the creeper gets dropped right here. But yeah, so this has some issues. Next, I rewired everything to be a little bit better. However, it was still quite slow. This was probably an 80 game tick clock. So this is the next sorter I made after that. It's a big improvement, so 56 game tick clock. The sequence for sorting the mobs is also a bit different. So the witch is standing here with the bow on top of them. Zombies and witches get despawned right here. Baby zombies right here. Creepers and skeletons get looted right here. And how it works is skeletons get stuck on this block and pushed up and over, back down here. Creepers are sorted out with this trapdoor, so they continue along and get pushed here, and baby zombies fit under here and get sorted out. This is just a little bit improved version of that. We managed to get it down to, I think, 50 game ticks, but it was still a little bit too slow. After that, Terra just made a new design, which is over here. This is a double design. So this had a 48 game tick clock, and it had a much more complicated piston sequence, but it was a lot smaller. And me and Bluecore rewired this, so it's 44 game ticks now. But it was still a bit too slow. So this is the piston layout for that. I showed this whole concept to Oreo Lamp a long time ago, and he made a concept for a layout, and I made a concept based off of that, and it was this layout, which is the current layout. So we sort the mobs, they get pushed in this 10 block per second conveyor that Floppy made for us, and the last block gets pushed downward in their heads, so they're all centered with foot level, because these pistons, they get pushed down, and when they retract they pull some mobs up a block. Next, the creepers get sorted out, and yeah, we've all seen the rest. So these designs have been in the works for the past few months, and they've come a very long way, and we finally have the result that we're at now, which is quite a fast mob farm, considering the lag in 1.12. Alright, thank you everyone for watching. I'll have some more information and links in the description.
It's not possible to make a faster farm, and I predict that the speed of this farm will never be beaten.